Okay, all right, let's go ahead and start then.
All right. Well, uh, I guess in the absence of a chair, as vice chair, oh, uh, I guess I'll start. 10:35, call to order.
Nope.
Hey,
Hi.
Rachel.
Hi.
I'm
Hello.
Rachel, sorry to be late.
Rachel.
You're okay, come on
Come
in.
on in,
Wait, you
have a
can
seat.
sit anywhere you want, Rachel.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice air conditioned room.
Yes. Did you print the agenda?
No, but oh, awesome, thank you.
Okay. So, first agenda item would be to appropriately thank Dan Fitzgerald for his time and knowledge he imparted on us in taking the role of the chair during the past 2 years I've been on here. So, thank you, Dan.
A special
Much
thank you
appreciated.
from me, Dan. I appreciate
That's very
everything.
nice of you.
Yep.
I don't want to point out it since it was since 2022 by full 3
Oh.
so
Yeah.
I
Wow.
know there's a mistake on the agenda, but I appreciate the kudos. It was my pleasure.
Wish you the best. So, our next agenda item is introduction and welcome to Rachel
Hi, everyone.
Steen, and nice to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excited to contribute.
Do you want to say anything about your background or anything? Or
Sure. I've moved to Grafton in 2016. I'm employed at UMass Medical School. I'm on the faculty there. Been, trying to be reasonably active and contributing to the town. I serve on the Grafton Democratic Town Committee and some other groups. And I think there's a very important role and, things non-exciting around here, but nonetheless very important, oversight and, support the function.
Great.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, thank you. So I guess the next step is with the retirement of Dan Fitzgerald, who was the chair of our committee. We have to elect a new chair, and I was the vice chair of the old committee, so we have to do that as well. So, do we have any interest from the board members here to be the chair or vice chair? Start with the chair, I guess.
Yeah, my only comment is my term ends in 9 months, so I don't know, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to continue with other things that are going on. So I don't know if it's wise for me to be a chair just for 9 months and then you have to re-elect another one.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only
Okay,
concern.
all right. And Rachel?
I have a proposal. Because you're an experienced member and you're a vice chair, I think it'd be very logical to nominate you to be the chair. And, if there's no other interest, I would serve as vice chair. I mean, I know I'm new, but, I'm teachable.
Yeah. Well, I knew nothing about this when I came on. So,
If somebody else wants,
Yeah.
to serve in that capacity, obviously I'd defer if someone has more experience.
I don't mind being vice chair as long as you're okay with, choosing another vice chair in 9 months if I don't continue.
yeah. Okay. So, would it be your intent to continue?
Couldn't tell you with what the future is going to hold based on
Yeah.
personal,
I know.
personal commitments, potential personal commitments in the future. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I guess, being past vice chair, I'd be willing to step into the role of chair. And if we're kind of uncertain, maybe Rachel could be the vice chair? Or whatever you want to do,
I mean,
because I think it's,
Yeah.
I'll speak for you.
I think it's important for the chair to be consistent, more consistent,
Mhm.
since, you are pretty much the leadership role throughout, throughout the whole year. So I wouldn't want to Vice chair is a lesser role, so I think that's one that someone can step into more easily. So if I wouldn't mind being vice chair, as long as, Rachel would be comfortable stepping into it in 9 months,
I think that's a good arrangement, because that
That's-
gives me
makes
some
sense.
time to
learn.
ramp up. Not that we have a busy year, so
Yeah.
Right.
no elections or anything.
Nonetheless,
So, but at least kind of get a feel for it, and I'd be fine with that.
Okay. All right, so let me make a motion that we accept myself, John Bonina, as the chair of the committee, and Lisa Yetz as the vice chair.
Second motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good. Got it out of the way.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, John.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, there was a time when I was chair of a couple of nonprofit boards, but it's been a long time since I followed Robert's Rules of Order. So. But anyway, we'll figure it out. Okay, our next agenda item is the permission for the town clerk to use the registrar's signature to certify nomination papers, town meeting articles, petitions, etc. This is something that, has been in place as it is, so. Do we have any discussion around that?
Do you have any questions about that, Rachel?
Could you just explain
Yep.
briefly for the sake of, thoroughness?
Yep, so the town clerk staff has a stamp with your name on it as well as Lisa's and John's. And so when we certify petition papers on the back of absentee ballots, when we receive nomination papers, they need to be certified by the Board of Registrars, and we use your stamp for that. At the last meeting, we had talked about who does that, when is it done, so in our staff, which is Todd, Mike, and myself, we are now initialing who used it.
Okay.
Your stamp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a paper trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, sounds
Right.
reasonable, just thought,
It's for
learn about it.
Yep. So I have the
Efficiency.
document. We can just sign it at the end of the.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we adopt that article to allow the town clerk to use our registrar's signature. Got a motion
With adding initials.
with adding initials, yes. Okay,
I second the motion.
okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Boy, we're moving through this.
Be out in the heat in no time.
Okay, so if, in the Board of Registrar and the Election Commission description that was in the packet,
Yes.
it does explain appointing assistant registrars who will serve as assisting the Board of Registrars and the clerk in maintaining a variety of different tasks related to elections. So, so this is an issue that two of your staff would become the assistant registrars until next March.
Yes, and that had not been in place prior, but it is a role that they're supposed to be appointed to as staff for the town clerk's office.
Okay. And basically, it's more of a perfunctory role,
Yes,
making sure that things are processed
correct.
correctly. But, so they don't have a decision-making role.
No,
Yeah.
it's more of like they process on the VRIS, and then, like if the nomination papers and stuff come in, they just will use your stamp, and that gives them the authority to do so.
So, doesn't undermine our role in any way.
No, it doesn't. It just gives them the ability to use the stamp,
Mhm.
and having them appointed to that role is what should have been in place prior.
Do we know what their party affiliation is? Because it's supposed to be equal party affiliation
Yep,
for the assistants.
I think they're both unenrolled, but I will double check that for sure.
Thanks.
So,
And they aren't a member of the board. They're just,
Yeah, it just said that even the assistant is supposed to have, shall equally represent the different political parties.
they're a little bit like me because I can be unenrolled and on the board. It's like kind of because of their position.
Yeah.
And one last follow-up to that, there was a question about the National Voter Registration Act coordinator, and that is me. That was at the last meeting, and I was unsure of that, but I did confirm that that is me.
Okay.
okay. So,
There's a question in the audience.
yes,
You don't have to entertain a question either, John, just, you can say, yep, no. But I am curious about that, to just double down on Lisa's question, out of section 22, chapter 51. They shall equally represent the different political parties. So, the way I look at this, between assistants and registrars, you now have 3 unenrolled, 2 Democrats and a Republican, if you allow Todd and Mike as registrars. I'm just trying to square that with how this becomes equally representing the parties. That was very important. That's why I'm no longer here, right? We made a decision to, and I was involved in that. It's like, hey, and so I understand their assistants, but it really does speak specifically to assistants. I'm not trying to gum up the works. I get it. I do think it is a valid question, though, and just to say, well, they're not really. I don't understand how they get around that necessarily.
But they're not making the decisions.
right, it's not a decision making.
Well, it doesn't, but this law doesn't apply to decision making. The law says the registrars in cities and town may appoint assistant registrars for the term of 1 year. The registrar, and they shall equally represent the different political parties. They're both unenrolled. How is that equally representing the different political parties? They're unenrolled.
Well, I guess I would have to ask the state and how to clarify that, but they are not registrars. The function of them being appointed as assistants is so that they can do the process.
I understand what you're saying, Madam Clerk. You know what I mean? But this specifically talks to assistant registrars. I understand what you're saying, but that's what they will become. Assistant
So
registrars.
I apologize,
If I
I
might,
didn't.
just, the handbook continues to say, so assistant registrars may equally represent 2 leading political parties. Unenrolled voters may be appointed as assistant registrars as long as there is an equal number of Democrats and Republicans. You don't have that, even in your registrars or them.
But I am exempt from that because I am appointed to this board as my role. So I am exempt from that. And they are not residents of Grafton. They are employees of Grafton.
And
I
they don't-
understand that. You're talking about a different law. I'm familiar with that too. That's not on point of what I'm saying here. That's not on point.
If they're regularly employed by the city or town, in which they are appointed, they must be a registered voter of the town. So, I guess, it doesn't speak to the authority, though. The
5122 speaks to, and in the handbook, it says, I'm just asking the question of how you get around what it says in 5122. Unenrolled voters may be appointed. That's fine. As assistants, they're unenrolled. Okay. As long as there is an equal number of Democrats and Republicans. They are neither of those party affiliations, and your board is unbalanced. You have 2 Democrats and a Republican. So in no way adding them, if they were a Republican Democrat, I get it. I'm just curious about the law, that's all. If you know what I mean, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. I get that part of it, and I have no intention of. I'm just reading the law as it is.
Well, I apologize. I guess I didn't even ask that question when I confirmed that I was correct in asking for them to be appointed.
I understand. And again, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. I really do understand the need for it as people that are in your office and actually professionalizing, as you said earlier. It's just like this wasn't done before. And so if you ask me, you're certainly moving in the right direction with it. just then becomes a question of make this unbalanced. Maybe town council would weigh in on it and say, yeah, no, they're all set. Or the state board would say, nope, I could be completely wrong. I don't dispute that.
Can I ask a question, because I'm new and I don't know
Sure.
some of these basic things? There's three of us here. Is everyone here who's on the board? Yes? Okay, so is there supposed to be 4 people ideally so that you can have equal representation? Or
No,
it's
it's-
supposed to be 3?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so just 3 is an odd number, so how can it be equal?
Right. So usually, in the past, I think.
And I don't
maybe-
mean any disrespect, I just.
No,
don't-
so the prior clerk was a resident, I am now appointed, but also it states in there that I don't have to be a party as being the clerk. And so it wouldn't be even.
Okay.
But we couldn't have like another Democrat on here because we have 2. We could
Yeah.
have 2 Republicans or we could have 2 Democrats.
Okay.
Well.
We can hold the
we can-
appointments.
Yeah, maybe we can hold that one and look into, what we need to do, to clarify that, but it seems like we need, the assistant registrars to fully carry out the role for our elections, but, I'm sure they have an answer to this because
Yes.
somebody has an answer to
Right.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we'll put that on hold and until the next
Yep,
meeting.
I'll get the answer.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so we move to the minutes.
Yeah, so I apologize. I don't have the January ones. Mike was off for a week and he's unexpectedly not returned. So he has the January ones. I just didn't have them to include in the packet. So we'll have another meeting. I'll have those and we'll clarify the appointments.
All right. So we'll, do we want to approve the November and March minutes that are here? I think that would be, we can figure out the January one at the
Yeah.
next
Yep,
meeting.
mhm.
Yeah, I
So-
agree.
Yeah, okay, so, I guess we'll start with the November 12th, meeting, which we had a special meeting, for, an audit related to the state election. That was done by the town and mandated, or actually done by the state, which the town, was involved in, quite a bit of that. It was
Sounds like it was a lot.
it was a lot. It was because you had to have election workers review the ballots, and we were there as registrars to review the process and clarify issues that came up. And so it was quite involved.
Yeah, we looked at a draft of the meeting minutes for this. We were working on a draft, and it did have a lot more information and details. And
Oh,
so
who
I-
did the draft? Do you
I
know?
think
couldn't
was
find
Mike
it.
working. Mike was working on it. I believe. I know
That's true.
former chair Dan supplied a lot of information. We all kind of had some input. We all provided some input, and so it was going to be a longer,
Yeah.
description of what took place.
Yeah.
And
Oh, so does anybody have that? I don't
didn't take
have any
notes.
record of that.
Mike was supposed to be. We fed Mike. I believe Mike was going to be the one that was going to be pulling all of it from everybody.
Okay.
Dan
And-
provided some. I had
You had emailed it to Mike?
Yeah.
Okay,
so.
okay.
Yeah, and, Mike was present
Yeah,
at the,
At the meeting.
meeting, so he could definitely, summarize the meeting.
okay.
I'm happy
So-
to take a look at the things I have
just-
and get it to you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so we can just hold those.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll hold on the November, minutes, and, we'll hold on the January minutes, and so we'll move to the March 25th minutes. Any discussion? This was a pretty detailed.
Yeah, you did a really good job
Yeah,
putting those meetings,
really. Thank
you.
those minutes together, yeah.
Thank you.
That's good.
So, any discussion?
I looked through them, I did not see anything
Hmm.
that I had questions about. No.
Yeah, I didn't either. So, we have a motion then to approve the March
Right.
25th minutes?
I make a motion to approve the March 25th meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Alrighty. So,
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
so,
right.
we had a great local town election.
Yeah.
We had 11% turnout. The entire election day, I was between both locations, meeting all of the poll workers, talking to them, taking notes. But it was a great setup. The staff is very welcoming and friendly to the voter. I walked through every lane or every precinct. I just thought it was great. And the end of the night went very well. I met with all of the wardens with, merging some of my ideas. Everybody was very open to that. I just thought it was a very successful day and I was very pleased.
Good.
I feel very fortunate because I worked with the wardens in advance and I tried to meet many of the election workers in advance, but there's 2 locations and there's one me, and I was just really happy with the outcome.
yeah, as I went in and voted, I felt like everything was going like clockwork.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough. The schools are very easy to work with. DPW is very helpful. The police officers, everybody pitched in to make the day fabulous, and it was great. It was a great day.
Good.
Now, is the 11%, where does that fall in terms of typical town?
Yeah, I looked. It looked like the last 2 elections had a little bit higher percentage. There was questions on those ballots, so I was wondering if maybe that drove it. But I
Yeah.
don't actually know the reason. I don't have. All I have is numbers,
Yeah.
and Mike and Todd haven't been here long enough to know that either.
Okay.
So it was 11% turnout for the local election? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's good, actually.
Well, there was only one
For a local.
contested race,
Yeah,
so sometimes that will drive people.
That's true. Yeah.
but to get that many
Yeah,
for a one contested local race is,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, that's, I think that's a good turnout, based on past experience, it's,
One other thing is in the past year, there had been the postcards that were mailed out in advance, so more people would have received the vote by mails. And this year, the state didn't mail those because they only mail them when they have their elections. And so that might have also been a contributing factor to a higher number of voters for those.
Okay. Well, good job.
Oh, one more note to that. So I had called a meeting because I did have one person that had requested a ballot, but they never returned it. So just to clarify that. So you are responsible to count the Uwakava votes, and that person never returned their ballot.
Yeah, I remember you kept us
Okay.
apprised of that. That was
So
Yeah.
that was it. They just didn't get it back in time. I had communicated with them. They just didn't.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. All right, our election schedule for 2026. We have the
Annual town.
annual town election on the 19th of May next year. The primary is to be determined, but the state election is going to be November 3rd. Any questions or thoughts?
Nope, they usually do the September one, the Tuesday after Labor Day, which, I mean, that's just usually what they do, but they haven't released that date.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So, good, it's on the books.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Are there any questions that are coming up around next year, or anything that's a hot contested issue?
No.
No. Not that we know of.
Mm-mm.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, and then thank you for printing this out. I think we had done this before, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. The role of the Board of Registrars and Election Commission. But it's definitely helpful to have in place, and thank you for that.
Yeah, it was just updated last year, so.
Yeah.
It is the newer version.
So, okay. And, let's see. Yeah, one of the things that we identified as the, Board of Registrars in the past is that the voter list had some, people on there that, had moved out of town or passed away or et cetera. So this is a follow-up from previous
Yes.
meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think on that? How did it go?
So pretty good. I pulled the extract and I did a couple of concatenate functions, and so I was able to combine over 109 records. But it didn't mean that they were all duplicates. Like one person might have been in there, and then one as a voter, and then one person was just in there and they weren't a voter. Sometimes the names were just different, but there was nobody that had voted duplicate. So I was able to combine all those. Some people had married, so their former name was in there. And so there was a couple people that I had to contact because like their first name, I just wasn't sure if it was still the same. So I did do the outreach. I talked to the state about combining a few people, and everything seems to be working out. I'm continuing to do that, and it's a little bit easier now because I know who the twins are. I know, like, it's just a little bit easier and better each time, but the list changes on a regular basis because of the new applications that we get in. Because every time somebody goes to get their driver's license, we get a new notice. And so people are doing the real ID. There's quite a few.
So the registry sends you that information, then you have to confirm
Yes.
does it end up spitting out a duplicate at that point?
It will notify us that there's a duplicate. But then, like, if your name is, like, Mary Ann, and you put Mary as your first name and Ann as your second, that I find those in the duplicates.
Okay, so that's something that reoccurs.
Yep, and I'd
Regularly,
said in
yeah.
our first meeting that I would do that, and I've continually been doing that. We just sent out the confirmation cards, so they should be coming to people's homes next week, and that will clean our list even more.
Oh, good. All right. So the backlog that we had of stuff, we had like, I don't know, there were like at one point like 40 names that still hadn't been resolved. Those are all resolved now.
Yes.
So now it's just a running check. So we're all
Yes.
caught up, and it's just, as new stuff comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. So I guess, for Rachel's purposes, knowledge base, I guess we can review those, voter lists by just simply asking you.
Of
If-
course,
if
yep.
there's
If
any
you ever
question.
want any of that information.
Yeah.
I would provide it in the form of Excel.
Sure, okay. Yeah. So, but, yeah. So, okay, thank you for that. That sounds like it was a big job.
It was, but it's really good to have it clean. It's
Yes.
easier to work with the next time. And like I said, I know who the twins are. I know, the spouses that have similar names. I think there's a couple that has the same birthday, like, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's helpful.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's really, I guess our next agenda item is that we're looking at scheduling the next meeting. So,
Right.
So we have to follow up with the minutes, and we have to,
The assistant registrars.
the assistant registrar issue.
Mhm.
So, I guess that within probably the next month, we
Yep.
should probably schedule something. Let's maybe calendars and see what we can come up with here. It's the middle of summer, which is always.
For me to do in person, it would need to be before the middle of July, if possible. So I'm just the last 2 weeks of July, I'm gonna be out of town. I'm happy to do it by Zoom, but I think in person is helpful.
Before the middle of July?
I leave on whatever the Monday is, the 14th.
Will we be able to get information by then?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're not, okay.
Yeah, if we did, oh, I'm in the wrong month there. It's not helpful. So. I'm trying to look at my schedule. We could do, any thoughts? I could do Monday, in the morning,
July 7th? Which
July
Monday?
7th, or, or the 14th.
Well, the 14th is when I leave, but the 7th is fine, and like in general that week, I have pretty good availability.
All right. Do you want to do Monday or Tuesday? Tuesdays is a good day for me, because
That's
I
fine.
do office visits and then,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
teletherapy on Tuesday, so I'm in town.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Tuesday
Well,
the 8th.
Tuesday I have a meeting, I think it should be in person, at 10. So we could do earlier or later, I can come back, but Monday's a little better.
Monday's better.
You can look at Wednesday if you guys want.
Well, if we did first thing in the morning on Monday, I think that would be good. 10 o'clock is fine.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, anything on Monday. is
So
fine.
it's the 7th, right? July 7th at 10 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Monday, okay.
All right. I don't think we need a motion for that, but so let's see, public comment. We have any?
Yes, I'd like to make a public comment.
Okay.
It's very nice that it's on there, Amy. That's very good of you.
Yeah.
So hello, my name is Dan Fitzgerald, 11 Patricia Drive, Grafton, Mass. More than 3 years ago, in January of 2022, I submitted an online request for consideration to be appointed to the Grafton Board of Registrars. At the time, the position had been vacant for approximately a year and a half. Despite being unenrolled, I was appointed and reappointed in the first half of 2022 prior to attending a single meeting. My first actual meeting on May 23rd of 2022 was solely convened to oversee the counting of ballots that had not been counted at the May 17th election due to a voting machine malfunction. Overseeing this recount was a great introduction in understanding the importance of a registrar's role. Although we would only convene one more meeting that year, over the next 2+ years, this board went through many positive changes. With support from my fellow members, I initiated a Board of Registrar agenda item to formally give the town clerk permission to use registrar signature stamps on election documents. I initiated moving the location of our official meetings out of the town clerk's inner office and into a municipal center conference room. This in turn provided the opportunity for the Board of Registrar meetings to be recorded and replayed by Grafton Cable Television. I convinced the town clerk to include registrars in the yearly state-run election worker training seminars to provide insight into the difficulties of their mission. The Board of Registrars began to actually obtain and review the Grafton voter rolls to identify and point out problems, including duplicate registrations and deceased voters. We, as appointed registrar, held voter registration sessions outside of the town clerk's office, specifically this last year at Police Night Out and the Crescent Manor Rest Home. We, as appointed registrars, requested and were given inclusion in the creation of the Board of Registrars' annual year-end report. And lastly, at the beginning of this year, I worked with the Town Administrator's Office to bring Grafton into compliance with mass laws regarding registrar term of office start and end dates. I am hopeful this newly configured board will continue the work of improving the proficiency and professionalism of this body, and that you will all embrace the responsibility you have to the citizens of Grafton in keeping our voter rolls free from being corrupted in any way. Fair and free elections require nothing less. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank
Dan.
you, Dan. Yes. All right. Well, that's good accomplishment. Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. So, without any further agenda items, I motion that we adjourn until our next meeting on July 7th, 10 a.m.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
What time is it?